Back at it. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody. We're doing episode 2 of Read Between the Lines. We had some technical difficulties trying to get started, but I think we got everything going. Hopefully this works out. Hopefully you guys will be able to hear this, at home, wherever you are. So, yeah, man, here we are, Easter Sunday.
Easter Sunday.
Yeah. How's your Easter Sunday so far today?
It's been pretty good. It's good to be home.
Yeah. Church today?
Yes, church today. And this is the Sunday where everybody in their family wants to come to church.
Okay.
So
it's pretty busy?
Pretty busy. Heavy traffic, new people, first-time comers, fashion show. Everybody want to show off their new suits, new outfits, new clothes, new swag, new drip.
Did you show up yours?
No. But I used to. Like, I remember when I was growing up, that was something that my family used to do. It's like, you buy all these nice clothes and you call it your Easter outfit. And so you go to church in your Easter outfit on that Sunday. But I grew out of that.
Yeah, we didn't really have Easter outfits. I mean, growing up, we always kind of. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to just always dress like slacks, shirt, dress shoes to church. It was just like a thing.
Right.
It's funny, especially like in the Christian church, as modern churches started happening. Everything was more relaxed, more chill, come as you are. So
right.
But and it is what it is now. But growing up, it was always you always dressed up. You look nice to go to church. So for us growing up, it was a given.
Yeah. So what about the Easter plays? Did you participate?
No, I never participated in any plays. In the churches that we went to, especially with my dad, for those that may not know, my dad was a minister, is a minister and a pastor, but back in the day, we never really did plays at the church. He's
like Easter speech. You didn't do no Easter speech. Like E is for eternity, A is for always providing.
No, we didn't do all that.
Like, I remember that as I was coming up, that you had to remember, like, if you were assigned to, like, either whatever letter you were assigned to, you had to give a speech with that letter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No, there's always a Easter sermon, and
right.
Those will always go, beyond the allotted time, but, it was what it was. But there was no plays. I mean, but at the same time, I was part of the praise band, so I was up on stage, either playing guitar or playing the piano back in the day. But there was no plays. But like I said, we always used to dress up on Sunday, so it was nothing new per se. At least wear nice clothes. But like I said, nowadays, it's just come as you are, and which I'm fine with it. It's not a big, it doesn't matter to me. But it's just, it's funny how things change.
Yeah.
And of course, you got large crowds that go down, for their biannual trips to church, Easter, and then Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
You got those folks.
Yes. So did you get an Easter basket?
Nah, man.
Dang you.
Nah.
I'm telling you, man, when I was coming up, like, I remember the Easter outfit, going to church. Prior that Saturday, we would have an Easter egg hunt. So you'll find a golden egg, or you'll find a special egg. It might be $5, might be $1. It might be some chocolate, jelly beans, anything like that in the egg. But that was the fun part of like you come to rehearsal on Saturday to rehearse your part for Sunday. But if everybody got it done, you always had this Easter egg hunt, and everybody's excited because they want to find the golden egg or that special egg that might have candy. It might have a $5 bill or $1, but that was something you look forward to doing. Now, today's world, they don't do that.
Okay.
So, I mean, they have the Easter egg fall or Easter egg drop where they drop the eggs and all the kids will run to the field and get the eggs and look for the golden egg and open it up. It might be, jelly beans, Snickers, maybe some money. But that was the fun of it. That was like the excitement of Easter, besides the real reason why.
Yeah.
But be able to just participate and come together as family and friends and your church members is to like find the egg, open it up, rehearse your play, new clothes on Sunday morning, do your play, had a Sunday Easter dinner after church. It was just like something we always did in the South, It was just good times,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely different because coming from, from Panama, different culture, like
Right.
all those, traditions like, Easter Bunny and all that. We never had any of that growing up. That didn't exist. That wasn't a thing. Obviously when we came here, we kind of got introduced to it, because that's more of an American thing. And of course, you kind of learned about it.
Right.
But maybe that's why, when you mention all that stuff, I'm like, nah, because growing up, that didn't exist. That wasn't a thing, in the churches that we, I used to go to. But yeah, man. So, happy Easter to everybody out there, celebrating
Happy Resurrection Day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He is risen. But some of you may not know this, but we actually went to see Katt Williams last night. He actually came through our town, and when we saw that he was coming, I reached out to Q to see if he wanted to go check it out. And of course, with everything that's been going on lately with Katt and his interview with Shannon Sharp, we thought, man, it'd be cool to see what he might be talking about.
He had some stuff to say, didn't he?
Yeah, it was interesting.
Interesting.
But
yes.
I didn't really realize the lineup that he had, coming into that last night, and like he had Mark Curry, Tommy Davidson, which, if you're a kid from the 90s, you'll remember these comedians from Hanging with Mr. Cooper and Tommy Davidson. What was he on?
In Living Color.
In Living Color. And then,
Right.
Of course, they went on to do other shows and stuff like that. So it was kind of interesting watching them, like, all these years later. Like, wow.
And they actually look good. Like,
yeah.
And not to cut you off, but being a comedian, the way they get paid is by people laugh and people book them. So with social media, today's world, everybody's a comedian. Everybody goes on social media, TikTok, Instagram. They post up these photos and clips, and it kind of like, their job is like to make people laugh. And so you would think in today's world, with everything going on, from COVID to different types of stuff going on in today's world, that laughing, people still buying the tickets. And like what Monique said last night, she said regardless of what everything is going on, she said people still stood for her, that they stand for her. And so while we stand for her, that's how she be able to get tickets booked to come to the sales and come see her play and see her speak, and her jokes are funny. So,
And that was the thing that was the big surprise, I think, of the night, that no one was expecting Monique to be there.
no.
And she showed up. Everybody
And
was
showed
like,
out.
yeah, she started clowning, several people.
Yes.
Not
She
just
went
on the
in.
crowd, but she went in on Oprah, and who else she
Gail.
went in? Gail
King, Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry, yeah.
So she's but one thing I like about Monique is that she's iconic. Not only she's iconic, but she's real. Like she's gonna speak her truth, and she love her skin that she's in, and she gonna tell you how it is, you know. And it's just comedy, so you got to take it. So I guess if you're in the crowd and if you see something that looks weird, hey, she coming for you. Just take it and just know it's just comedy. So I love that about Monique.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It's a cool surprise, in the evening.
But actually, all of them was pretty good if you ask me.
Yeah.
Every last one of them. The two ladies, Pretty Leg Swag or Pretty Leg Legs something, and Katt Williams.
Yeah.
They was actually pretty good. Like I knew they had to be good if it was Katt Williams.
Yeah.
Come on now. So they didn't disappoint. Even Lil Mo. Like I grew up with Lil Mo. Like I remember Lil Mo from the early 2000s maybe.
Yeah.
And her voice, and she still sung good. Like she did good. Yeah. And to be here in this world of like 2024, and you still performing, still got your voice, that's big.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting lineup for sure.
Right.
A lot of throwback.
Yes.
I think the majority of the crowd is kind of older crowds, which that grew up with these
80s
people.
babies.
And of course, grew up with Katt and everything. And like we were talking about yesterday, with the whole Shannon Sharp interview, like that I'm sure brought a lot more people in, a lot more eyeballs and to what he had to say. And he touched on a lot of different topics that everybody got hit, so no one got left out. So, but it was cool. It was a good time. It was a good time. But yeah, man. Speaking of celebrities, because it's been a lot going on in terms of that. But I'm sure you heard about the whole Diddy situation, and of course,
take that.
When you look at Katt Williams, he kind of alluded to some of that, in that interview. And of course, Diddy was already kind of being looked at because of what was going on with Cassie. And then this last week, his house got raided. And I think the house or the places of his two sons also got raided, and stuff got taken, like phones and a bunch of stuff. And it was pretty wild, man. And to think of, somebody like Diddy that's been around in hip hop for a long time. But when you heard the news about him getting raided, what you think about that?
Honestly, I don't know what to think about it.
Oh, yeah?
I do think there are some things that he's probably involved in or he participates in doing that may not be the appropriate thing to do. But at the end of the day, he's a mogul. He's pretty iconic. He's been around for years. He's a pioneer. So it's somebody that big and huge. I mean, when I was reading a lot of the comments on social media, it's like they've been trying to target him for the last 5-6 years. And I was reading some of the posts, like they've been trying to get him ever since like the early part of like 2015. And I think the stuff is starting to add up, and some people just keep quiet because they didn't want nobody to come out to them for their safety. So now it's funny how when one or two people come forth and say their part about how they feel about Diddy, how they grew up with Diddy, how they used to work with Diddy. Now other people all of a sudden wants to come to the light and say, hey, I got my story. So sometimes you got to ask yourself, it's like, is this for clout, or is it for like views, or is it really the truth? And I was watching something online the other night when it was talking about all those people that was at his house at his Diddy parties and stuff whatnot, when he was getting raided, where were they? Nobody stood up for him and said this is not true. Everybody just stood back in the corner in the shadow and said, "No, what? Let it happen. I'm running. I'm keeping myself clean."
Yeah. Well, it's they're either not saying anything because they know it's true, or it's just fake friends.
That's the thing.
Which in the industry, in that kind of industry, is really hard to know
exactly
who's real and who's not.
Exactly.
But aside from the allegations there and everything that Cassie was putting out, and which of course, for him to have settled so quickly, because it was like a day, like it made the news, and like 24 hours later, they settled like for $30 million. But from what I heard was that for something like to have settled that quick, that was ongoing. There's probably like ongoing conversations about this, probably for weeks, even months, where they were like, "Nah, we're not gonna settle. We're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do that." And Cassie was probably like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go public with some of these things." And then at that point, they probably like caved in and said, "Okay, well, we'll go ahead and settle and kind of hush this up." But but then with that whole civil lawsuit of what was his name, Rodney Lil Rod Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for people don't know, he was a producer for one of the albums of Diddy. I forget, is it the Love album or one of those albums?
I'm not sure.
That he was a producer for, and he put out a lawsuit. I think it was February 26th in New York, and some of the things that Rodney Lil Rod alleges, for example, for those of you that may not know, he alleged that he was subjected to unwanted advances by associates of Diddy at Diddy's direction. He also claims that he was forced to engage in sexual activities with sex workers that were hired by Combs. He also claims that he was sexually harassed, drugged, and threatened by Combs for more than a year. And then he contends that he possesses video and audio evidence showcasing illegal activities involving Combs, his staff, and others. And then I think the lawsuit also alleges that Combs regularly hosted sex trafficking parties that involved underage women and illegal drugs. And so, and also in the lawsuit, it suggests that the record label's executives turned a blind eye to these activities, benefiting financially from their association with celebrities, dignitaries, including implying involvement with British royal Prince Harry even. So it goes deep, man.
Yeah.
Like I even heard people being mentioned like that, didn't say their names directly, but people said that that's gotta be, for example, who was his name? Oh man, I just lost that dude's name. Anyways, it'll come to me. But there's some celebrity names that the names were redacted, but the way, when you read the lawsuit, people kind of put one and one together and say this got to be so and so, likelihood. Yeah, so man, so it's not looking good for Diddy right now. And one of the things that I wanted to kind of get your opinion about is, like, for example, when we see situations like this, obviously that are very serious allegations that he can lose everything. And one of the things that happens a lot of times is, you're guilty before you're proven innocent, when it should be the other way around. You should be innocent before you're
guilty, right?
Until proven guilty. But it's almost like when you hear all these things, it's like, wow, it's almost impossible to get the court of public opinion to be on your side when there's so much out there that's being said.
Evidence.
Yeah, and not to say that he's innocent or anything, but it's just like, well, he hasn't been convicted of anything yet. Maybe he will. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that he was convicted. Let's just say that they found him guilty of, even if it's just one or two things of the, or maybe all of them, all the things that were said about him. Like, are you able to, for example, like separate the art from the artist? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, should we be able to separate the art from the artist and be able to say, you know what? Yeah, he did some foul things, but, you know, the music still hits. The music's still fun. The music's still nice. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like, you know, the other situation that happened that was very similar with R. Kelly, you know, and people were just like, you know, canceling his music. You know, they want to listen to R. Kelly anymore. And, you know, some people felt like, you know, you can't separate the artist from the art. Like, you know, maybe a lot of those songs were influenced by the artist and some of the things that, you know, he or she was doing. So, but I don't know, man. What you think?
I don't care what nobody says. They can sit here and say, "Oh, I'm not playing the music anymore." I guarantee you, it will stay on their playlist.
Yeah,
it will. It will. Now, granted, like if it's like a wedding, somewhere with a huge audience, maybe not. But if you're in your own home and it just happened to be on your playlist, the song comes up next, and it's a gem, it's a hot track, you're not gonna get them going, you know what? Scratch that, take that off. You're just gonna let it play.
Yeah,
you're just gonna let it play, let it go, you know. But it's gonna make you remember, like, dang, man, I hate that happened to R. Kelly, you know, because this track was hot back then. Because when I hear music like that, even with R. Kelly, when I hear certain tracks, it reminds me of what I was doing at the time when I first heard this song. Yeah, so it doesn't make anything to do with R. Kelly, you know. Even though what he did is what he did, but when I hear certain songs, I don't think about R. Kelly. I think about the moments when I first heard the track for the very first time, like what I was doing, who I was with, where I was going, and the vibe it gave me. So it's same with Diddy. Like if I hear certain tracks from Diddy, I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm not saying he's guilty. But if I hear his music, I'm going to remember the first time I heard that song. Oh man, this is my jam. You know, and that's it.
Yeah, and you know, I kind of feel the same way. To me, I'm kind of able to separate the art from the artist, and because a lot of those songs, whether you know, you may have grown up with them, and they take you to a place,
right?
And regardless of, you know, what the artist is found guilty of doing, you're kind of taken back to a time in your life where you kind of reminisce of those earlier days in high school, college, whatever it was. You know, but some people might say, well, you know, if you're listening to it, or if you're downloading it, or if you're streaming it, or this or that, you know, you're putting money in their pocket. You're being complicit because you're giving them money. And I'm like, okay, sure, you can make that argument, but at the same time, is, you know, to me, there's the person that does something, and then, you know, the work that they did to me stands alone,
right?
Like separate. And there are people that, you know, and because nobody's perfect, and you know, we're all gonna do things that are not right from time to time. But obviously, when you got situations like this that are just like it gets crazy. Some of
Right.
the things that they do, and by no means, are we condoning or any of that behavior. But at the same time, it's like, if I don't know if Michelangelo did some crazy wild things back in the day, like are we still not going to appreciate some of the things that he did as a result? Like, I don't know. So
That's like Bill Cosby.
exactly, Bill Cosby. That's another one.
You know, everybody grew up with Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
The Cosby Show. I mean, you watched it, and you grew up with it. He was like what do they call him? The American's dad or something like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that was over years. That's you talking about decades like of shows, and now here we are here in 2020. All these allegations and stuff come out with Cosby. So do you supposed to like turn off all this stuff now and just forget about it? You can't.
Yeah. And the thing is, like I remember growing up watching, my parents letting me watch the Cosby Show.
Oh yeah.
And it was such a wholesome show,
right?
That you could probably still play it today. Like if you wanted to show it to your kids and this and that, because it was very wholesome and even portrayed, and people have made this point before. It even portrayed, a black successful family and what that looked like, and what a lot of people could aspire, the black family to be, but also not necessarily, a lot of the stereotypes that you would see in in media or whatever. So he not only, helped elevate that, but that show, did it in a very wholesome way that to this day you could show it to kids, and it would still be funny. It'll still be relevant because of all the topics and things that they dealt with. But, when you think about the things he did, you're like, well, so yeah, man, it's tricky, man. It's tricky. And but that's why I feel like you can kind of separate, the art from the artist, because it is in a lot of ways two different things.
Yeah.
And just because you support or you have or you're you like their work, doesn't mean you agree with everything in their life or the things that they've done.
Because every time I go on TikTok, majority of the time when I go and see, it's Bill Cosby, his skits or certain parts of his shows, Diddy. But
yeah,
you're gonna see it. People always got something to say. But as far as Bill Cosby, but you think about it, if you got Bill Cosby and then you got Bill Cosby shows, like the shows to me is light, and again, it makes you remember when you was at home with your parents and you watching TV, and you watching that show and how you was entertained.
And it wasn't just him. I mean, you watched it for everybody else.
Exactly, that's my point.
Theo and everybody else that was part of the show. Because it all came together.
Right.
So yeah, man, it's a bit tricky when it comes to that for sure. But I think you mentioned TikTok, man, and obviously, I think it was last week as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we might be a little bit behind on this, but the Congress, the House of Representatives, voted primarily in the bipartisan way to try to get TikTok, banned. And actually, they're trying to get TikTok to divest, in other words, to sell itself, and not have any Chinese-backed owners, in order to prevent security of American data. And if they don't sell, if ByteDance, which is the parent company, the Chinese parent company, if they don't sell what they own, then after I think it's like 45 days, they'll be shut down.
Wow.
So obviously, I think I've seen actually here in town. I've seen like billboards, talking about TikTok and the amount of money that it has provided into the American economy. And when you think of 150 million people here in the U.S. have TikTok, and a lot of those people are entrepreneurs that either sell stuff or whatever, or influencers under that make money through TikTok, and now potentially can go away completely, because they think that the Chinese are influencing not only what we see, but they can also see our data. I don't know how much you've been following some of that, but I don't know what your thoughts on that is.
Wow. I didn't know. I knew there was talk about counseling, but I didn't, not to that depth. What you just discussed, but I'm not sure about that. But that's deep.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that it may go away completely. Some people are saying that, well, it may not, because it takes months. It might take months for it to go to the Senate, and the Senate also has to agree to pass it. And if they pass it, then it goes to the president. The president will sign off on it. But I don't know, man. I feel like when you have other companies like like the Facebooks of the world, which Zuckerberg, he owns Instagram,
Right.
and you have LinkedIn and X, all these other mediums that collect data, and they use it, they sell it to like third parties, and that's how you get all those ads and stuff like that on your phone which you don't even ask for.
It gets on my nerves.
So my thing is like I get it on one end, trying to say, yeah, the Chinese are spying on us, this or that or whatever. But if it's a concern of data safety, I think it should be across the board to protect our data from all these other people, not just TikTok. And for example, I know you use it. I use it too, and I mean, to be honest with you, like the stuff that I come across, like, is actually like helpful things, like informative stuff that I come across. I've never come across anything that would make me feel like, I don't know, like they're trying to like brainwash me to do something I don't want to do, like the Chinese government or whatever. But could they be taking my data? Maybe. I don't know. But so is everybody else taking my data. So I don't know, man. It's a bit tricky, I think.
Yeah. Because of TikTok, I discovered a whole lot. Well, different types of people, like Tabitha Brown.
Okay.
Like, I love Tabitha Brown.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
She's a cook. She's a vegan cook.
Okay.
Her tagline was like, "Hello there, hello there."
Hello there. Okay, yeah.
Okay,
I know that.
Like this, like that. Like this, like what? And she would always cook in these amazing meals, and they'd be vegan and they healthy meals and smoothies. And so I never forget when I first downloaded TikTok during pandemic, and the first video I saw was Tabitha Brown. And she had me glued since day one. Like, it just watching her, just how she just moves around in the kitchen. She's giving good positive advice. She's very motivational. She speaks positivity. And now look where she is now. She's just huge. She got several books out, several recipes. She's been on a couple of shows. She's been touring around the world. And but she's very, very influential to the world today, like eating healthy and things like that, and like vegan foods, and just having that positive vibe influence on social media. So when I first turned on TikTok and I saw her, I said, okay, I can get with this. Like, this is nice. So I started following her immediately, and I'm glad I did. And now I follow her so much, and that's how your time gets away, because you start looking at her videos that she posted about different things that she was going through, that she experienced certain foods, and giving people good words, advice, and what they're going through in life today, and what they are. And there've been a lot of times I turned it on, and that was times in my life where I felt like I was just down, and I saw a video, and this really uplifted me to get me through the next day. So there are some points on TikTok that was very, positive for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of informative stuff. I like a lot of history and stuff like that. So obviously the algorithm will start kind of picking up what you like and start suggesting stuff.
Right.
So, on to the opposite of that is, if you start seeing a lot of dark, negative stuff, especially if you're young, it'll keep feeding you that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it could be detrimental in that sense, which, so, I mean, I think that if you're a parent and you have kids, I don't think kids should be having access to TikTok or social media, for that matter, up until a certain age,
right.
Because it can be very detrimental, especially if they're looking at negative things. It'll just kind of keep reinforcing those negative things that they're looking at just because of the algorithm. But I agree with you, because I've found it very helpful in trying to learn certain things, being exposed to not just creators but information that otherwise you probably would have never found out about.
TikTok is the teacher we never know we had it.
I don't know
I'm serious. Like, it's so much I've learned, like doing the iPhone, like learning different iPhone tricks, taking pictures and understanding different apps on your phone, like certain things in your house, and you try and get spots out of your carpet. I may see a video about that, funky things like opening certain items in the kitchen, like certain like shakers and stuff. And I see a video about that, and I look at it and I save it. And I didn't know you could save videos on TikTok until I started saving these videos. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna save this. So I go back and look at it. Like, oh, okay, I remember this, and I use it.
As a matter of fact, I learned on TikTok, I think it was yesterday, that I don't know if you knew this, but off the coast of South Carolina, there's an African kingdom. There's a legit African kingdom off the coast of South Carolina. You can go down there and visit. It's not even considered part of the U.S., even though it is, but it's considered its own African kingdom, and I forget the name of it. I forget the name of it because I can't pronounce it, but they have their own laws and rituals and things, culture that they got down there. And when I saw the video and the guy was talking about it, I was like, nah, this can't be right. So when I went and Googled it, sure enough, it does exist. And I'm like, so stuff like that, you don't really think about, but because of social media, obviously TikTok in this case, you're exposed to it and you learn. So, and it's become such a behemoth. It's huge, and I feel like when I see other platforms like the Facebooks of the world, like I don't know if you know this, but like Facebook actually has lobbyists lobbying against TikTok to Congress, and of course, who gains from all of this if TikTok gets banned?
Facebook.
Obviously Facebook, because people will either go back to just hanging out on Instagram. I mean, I don't know that this generation really goes to Facebook like that no more, but they'll still be able to cater to them more, because TikTok won't be around, or won't be a player, won't be a competitor anymore. And then when you got now, for example, the TikTok shop, that's pretty much, competing with Amazon in terms of like people buying stuff straight out of the site. And so,
have you ever bought anything from TikTok shop?
A couple things.
I have too.
Yeah, and and a friend, my wife, she's also bought stuff from there. So you can see the influence that it has. But while I get some of the legitimate concerns that there may be, some ties to the Chinese Communist Party, but at the same time, I don't know that I'm so much worried about that as much as I'm worried about just all these platforms as a whole, collecting our data. And if we're trying to protect people's data, then I feel like it should be across the board. Yeah, that's my take.
I agree.
So what else we got today?
Let's talk about J-Lo.
J-Lo. What happened with her?
The real question is, what's not happening to her?
Well, dude, I had a couple of things like came on my timeline about it, and there's some people that were kind of dragging her.
Dragging her. That's a nice way of putting it. and I guess to me, it just stood out to me because this is somebody, again, a super artist. You go from R. Kelly, you go from P. Diddy, you go from Bill Cosby, then you got J-Lo, which now I'm not saying she's a bad person, which I never met her before in my life. Would I want to meet her? Absolutely. I still think she's hot. And I love all her craft, her work. But and I'm thinking to myself, what in the world could she have done to make them just drag her like that? Like, what is it? So you start going on TikTok again. You start seeing different photos, different videos. People just like all this comments, and you start looking at these comments, and people said they met J-Lo in person in New York, and she was just a snob. Like she was very nonchalant, didn't really care about her fans. Always talk about she's Jenny from the block, and then the people from the Jenny from the block were saying, "Oh, you're not from the block because you're not needed here. We don't like you." I'm like, wow.
The people from the block never met Jenny.
That part, they never met her, man. And they would, and I'm like, they just dragging this poor lady, And I'm thinking at the end of the day, she has children. She got two, the boy and girl.
I think they're twins. I think.
And how did it make them feel to see this stuff?
Yeah.
Like they're talking about their mom. So they, at some point, they get to a certain age, they're gonna start going to the mall, doing what teenagers used to do.
Well, see, nobody thinks about that. Nobody thinks about their kids or anything like that. I mean, she's rich, she's famous, and these people try to claim that she was mean to them or rude, or the different people that claim that they've come across her in some kind of way. Obviously, is their story to tell, and whether it's true or not, who knows?
Apparently 90% of the world say it's true.
I mean, and she very well could be a mean person. Who knows? Yeah. But you also got to think about the circumstances, because like she could have been nice to 99 other people leading up to that one person.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, and she just happened to catch her at the wrong time. Who knows?
I really don't think it's the fact that she's being mean to her fans. I think it's the fact that her music, like she doesn't sing her own hooks. Like she stole music from Ashanti, different artists. And so when they hear different music like that, different songs, and when Ashanti goes on these podcasts and she say, yeah, that song really was meant for me, but they gave it to J-Lo,
Well, yeah, I mean, but that happens all the time in the industry. Yeah. Like they'll write the song and, with someone in mind, but then they turn around and give it to somebody else. I mean, that happens a lot. But, I think part of the backlash is it kind of goes in connection with, her movie that came out. And
did you watch it?
No. I saw the trailer, and I saw some clips from it, and I'm like, man, this thing looks whack. It looks whack to me. I don't know. I mean, it's like a musical or something, and
it's a documentary
about her life,
her love life.
Okay,
but I think honestly, I think they really, I don't know who was a publicist or whoever advertised it for her. I think they dropped the ball because it was supposed to be, from my understanding, according to TikTok, that it's supposed to be a documentary about her life, love life, that goes in with her new music that drops.
So she's got a new album coming out.
Yeah, in a tour. So it's all supposed to like come in together as one. Huh. But they didn't advertise it that way. So you got people going to see this movie sitting here like, what in the world?
So people are thinking that this movie is just a random movie that she's in, that she's promoting or whatever. But they don't know that it's actually coinciding with a tour, a new album that's coming.
A new album, yes. So it all comes together as one. But as again, they didn't advertise it that way. So they kind of dropped the ball on that. And then you have all these huge artists in there. You had everybody from Post Malone. You had Keke Palmer. You had several other people, big people in this movie.
I saw that. I think I saw it on the trailer. Different people that were involved in it, which is kind of crazy to think, because it was like,
and she funded.
She funded the whole thing.
The whole thing,
huh? I mean, good for her.
J-Lo loves J-Lo.
But the thing about it is like something that's just not gonna flop, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you know what? I will say this. I've never was like this huge J-Lo fan. I mean, she has some hits back in the day with Ja Rule, and I forget who else she collaborated with. But she has some hits. I'll give her that.
Khaled.
But even some of her movies, were cool. So she's definitely talented,
right?
And she's definitely very successful for all the things that she's done,
right?
And kudos to her. But at the same time, not everything you're gonna do, not everything you're gonna touch is gonna turn into gold.
Yeah.
And this is just one of those things. Now, it's kind of like with the whole like Diddy situation, when you got all these people like, when you're down, they're trying to like,
keep you down.
Like more stuff comes out about you. So now you got people talking about her, saying, yeah, she's this, yeah, she's that. And then, of course, everyone else wants to pile on. And it just becomes one of those things. Whether it's true or not, who knows? But I will say, even though this movie looks like it's a flop, for and it is what it is, kudos to her that at least she put it out there, because how many people are out there that will not do something because they're scared it's going to fail, or they're scared that people are going to make fun of them, or people are going to laugh at them, or how many people are out there that don't accomplish nothing in life because they're scared of what other people are going to think about them? And at least kudos to her, even though it didn't do well. At least she stayed true to herself and said, hey, I'm gonna put this out there, and if it does, great. If it doesn't, I mean,
life goes on,
and I'm still rich. So
that's true.
And I think that's what separates a lot of these people from, I guess, the average person, is because they're willing to take risks. They're willing to do the things that others are not willing to do. And whether they fail or not, it's unconsequential. Obviously they want to succeed, but if they don't, it's okay. And I think that's something that we can kind of take away. All of us can kind of take away from it. It's like, I mean, don't let our failures define us, and then just get up and try again, and try some other new venture. So I think there's some good takeaways from it when you look at it from that view.
I agree.
Yeah, man. So we're going for about 50 minutes now. So I know, man, this goes quick. This goes quick.
50 minutes.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
Wow.
But I wanted to touch, if we can just hit one more story. I don't know if you heard this story out of New York. Let me just read it to you, man, because this is crazy to me. So this is an article from the New York Post. It was published last week, and basically it details this tense confrontation in New York involving a homeowner and an alleged squatter in a property that she inherited. Do you know what a squatter is?
No.
Okay, so a squatter is basically a person that will come to your house. Like, let's say you have a house that's vacant.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you had a second house.
Right.
And no one's living in it. Well, a squatter can come in, a random person can break into the house, set up shop, and live there. Excuse me. And they can just live there. And you can't do nothing about it. Like, you can go and confront them, and they can lie and say that they have a leasing agreement, with the owner or whoever, and you can't just kick them out. And then you can call the police, and the police can't kick them out if they're providing paperwork, even though it may be false paperwork, claiming that there are tenants there. So then you got to go through this whole legal situation in order to get them out. So in this situation right here, this lady, Adele Andeloro, she was arrested after a standoff with squatters who were occupying her $1 million home in Flushing, Queens, which she acquired from her deceased parents. The dispute apparently began when she attempted to sell the home, and then she discovered the squatters were inside the house, and they had replaced the front door and the locks. And of course, she was frustrated, so she changed the locks with the locksmith, and then that led to this heated exchange that was caught on camera. And then subsequently, she was arrested by that police because she was considered trespassing in her own property, which is insane. Now, but I didn't realize this was a thing.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, so when I looked into it a bit, every state has different like laws in terms of like squatters' rights, people that can actually take over your home per se. And in a lot of states, it takes anywhere from 2 to 5 years for them to live there and lawfully be able to stay there. But it takes years. But what's crazy about New York, especially New York City, it doesn't take years. It only takes 30 days. So if you have a property in New York City that it's vacant, you can have a random person come in, stay there for 30 days, and then you got to go through this whole legal system in order to get them out. And sometimes that might take months.
I bet.
It might take over a year or two, because, the court logs are like backed up. And so it's a big problem. Now, that's in New York City, of course. It's happening in other places like California. And I think states are trying to like make changes to their laws so that, some random person can't just start living off your property, and then you can't just get them out. So if you buy a home in like a beach house or something, and come to find out you got a guy that's living there for like 6 months, then you got to figure out how to get them out, and it might take you a year to do that. And then once you do, they might be upset, and then they're trashing your place, or it's crazy, man. But I don't know, you didn't hear about that?
No, I have not. But it just makes me think, like, I just don't understand how you can have a squatter like in your property, because everybody got cameras, everybody got security systems. Like, how do you have a squatter? Like, how do it get to that point? I understand you can have a squatter, but how does it get to that point?
Well, for example, like this lady, she was living in a different state,
Right.
and her parents had died, and you know, she inherited the house after they passed away, but it took her several months to get up there in order to, you know, I guess finalize things and be able to sell the house and whatnot. But because in New York City, for example, you know, it only takes 30 days for them to take over. Uh, you know, it took her like 3 or 4 months after her parents passed away to be able to make that trip to New York and be able to make those arrangements. So, you know, I'm assuming she probably didn't have any kind of like, you know, camera or anything to see what was happening. And I'm sure, especially if you're not living there, or if it's like a second home, or like a rental property. I mean, some people may not have those things in place, but yeah, and it's not just, for example, like a house. I mean, it could be if you have acres and someone's like being living off like part of the land, and you don't know because you may not go through your whole property every day. You know, that's still a problem, and it could be hard to legally get them out.
That's true.
Yeah, man. But it's definitely something that people are paying more attention these days.
Wow.
And if you have if you have a property, you might want to make sure that you have some cameras in place, or you have some sort of security system that alerts you, because yeah, you very well could be dealing with this a situation like this, and it doesn't get prettier after that.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's new one for me.
Yeah, man. So I think that'll wrap it up for today, man. Thank you guys out there for joining us.
Yes.
Episode 2. We're still trying to, iron out all the kinks. But hopefully, as time goes on, we'll be able to come at you with everything nice and ready every single time. But we appreciate all the ones that are, making the time to listen to us, see what we have to say.
That's right.
We appreciate it. But until next time, take care out there. Take care of each other.